Good evening. We are back. Welcome to the Mancunian way. Hope we are all good. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello, Martin.
Evening, Martin.
How are we?
Fine, mate. How are you?
I'm jolly good.
Because you're making friends with everyone.
Listen, it's bonkers, isn't it? Right. All we do on my show, on your show, is speculate on what the media are saying. We're getting a few pelters out with pal, to say the least.
I don't know what you mean.
It's only speculation on channels like this is only the same as speculation on Twitter, on Facebook, and other social media outlets. It's just that way you can hear our voice, you can see our beautiful faces. On Twitter you can't, on Facebook you can't. So none of it is real until a player signs. However, let's talk about it. And by the way, Ethan, FIFA, thank you for your support, my friend. Very much appreciated. Sorry, Martin, it's your show.
Good evening, everyone within the chat. Who is it again?
Hello, Rich.
Evening.
Sydney's
Biggest
Toronto fan.
Right. Okay. We're here again to talk transfers. And we're going to re-give away the KDB frame
Oh,
for a third time.
just pass it me.
Martin, I've written down the numbers of everybody who's been drawn already. So
Yeah, but what we're going to do
if we get them again, you'll know.
Changing it around.
Have you been pulling the balls out for Martin?
We're only going to give it to the people that are actually in the chat tonight because I'm not doing a full draw. I ain't playing that game. So it'll be the first one gets drawn out with whoever's in the chat tonight. It's easier.
This is a bit like City Watford in the FA Cup in 1985. It's just going on forever.
This is like the Champions League draw. Redraw.
Yeah.
On balls.
Yeah.
Anyway. Ethan, no, he won't get a testimonial because you've got to do 10 years, but David Silva's not even had a testimonial yet. Neither was Aguero.
We could have a pre-testimonial because Sociedad are in the Champions League next season.
They ain't getting testimonials at this point. That's by the bang. I think testimonials are a thing of the past now. Sadly, I think they're gone.
Well, not unless the players give the proceeds to charity like Company did.
I don't think the one Company was the last one.
I reckon Phil will get one.
Sergio will have one.
In about 10 years, Phil will get one. 20 years at City. And
Sergio would have one
5 years at City.
Why don't
Phil will play 20 years, he'll get 2 testimonial.
Why don't they do statues of fans?
What, to fill the empty seats?
You know, if you do 10 years at the Etihad, you get a statue.
You know the hardest thing on the statue.
What Martin's hoping.
The hardest thing on the statue is the hair. So I reckon, Andy, you could be first.
I've nailed it.
Equals.
Andy,
if you're
saying a statue for every 10 years, then Martin deserves the bloody terracotta warriors from ancient China. Just rows and rows.
Right. Anyway, let's get into it. There's a bit of transfer news. I wish people wouldn't send me information anymore because you get in trouble for it when people send you info. I have got a little bit on some EDS players tonight, THB being one of them.
Martin, when I sent you that we'd had a 20 million bid accepted for Harry Maguire, it was a joke.
Yeah, well, wasn't you, mate?
I don't really know Harry Maguire's sister, and
don't, Rich, because I'll get in trouble. Rich, you know we've got spies watching. There are spies watching us.
20 million for a pie seller? Nah.
Yeah, no, I've heard that they're going to there's a new restaurant opening, and he's going to be maitre d'.
Martin, there's just been some
I'm just saying
news.
What? Go on.
Yeah, carry on.
I just because we could have gone all night with Richard's Maitre D story, but we might have been here all night. So I just thought I'd quickly get this. David Orstein has just tweeted, City have actually now made a formal offer for Declan Rice.
No, I'm not doing it. We're moving on. I'm not going down that road. I'm not doing
Rice, baby.
I'm not doing it. I'm not playing the game.
No, it's
no, seriously. It's
I know. I'm looking at it at the moment. I'm
there
actually.
You go, see.
Yeah.
I'll look while you host your show. Eh?
Anyway, I'm not doing it because you get in bloody trouble. You get in trouble when you start.
Martin, you're an ITK. We all know it, so just say it.
Piss off, you dickhead.
Are you
Right,
Tommy's hairdo in disguise?
No, I am not.
No, that's
someone
Andy.
did ask me once. No, I did have someone DM me once.
Andy's got Tommy's hairdo.
Was asking me if I was Tolmer. Then it was no. Then they asked me if I knew who was Tolmer. I said no. Is it someone on City Extra? No.
No.
It's like I don't know. I don't go on Blue Moon Forum that much. I really don't. Then it was Didsby Dave. Everyone who goes on Blue Moon Forum knows a little bit of Didsby Dave. Everyone knows a bit of Didsby Dave.
Everyone's had a bit of Didsby Dave.
Mancunian Martin. He's Didsby Andy.
Mancunian Martin.
It's Rick.
Altrincham Andy.
No. It's actually a WPP marketing agency who, realised that
Derek.
Where's your light tonight?
Mine.
Yeah.
All above his
£750 light you've got.
Right. So this from David Ornstein now about the exclusive. I'll read it out if you want me. Exclusive. West Ham, and I don't get this. West Ham have tonight received a formal offer from Manchester City to sign Declan Rice, proposing deal worth 80 million plus 10 million add-ons. So that's 90 million, yeah? After second Arsenal bid of 75 million plus 15 million rejected last week. Pursuit of main target, all his hashtags and rubbish. Hang on. When I went to school, 80 plus 10 was 90, which is our offer. 75 plus 15 was 90 as well.
Yeah, there's one very...
Both clubs value the same, but we're just willing to...
It's the structure of payments. Arsenal want to pay it over 25 years.
We're willing to give a lot more for favourable payments.
Yeah,
we said on the last show what Arsenal were offering was ridiculous.
Yeah. So people understand at the moment the cost of capital, because of interest rates and inflation, is.
I'm just gonna say because
it's probably about 12. It's probably about just a fact. It's probably about 12%. So paying 100 million today is probably the equivalent of paying 130, 140 million over 5 years. So if City have paid 80 million up front versus 75, that's probably worth 20, 30 million more to West Ham, because 5 years time paying with 10% inflation,
Rich shows
money's worth nothing. That's it. So it's all about cash, and when you pay it up front, you're in. It's just a quick one. Right, you can come back now, Martin. It was a very quick one. Wasn't a rant. Right, so now we can go to the full in the know information. Who says cheeky fuckers? Oops. YouTube ruined.
We should actually embrace. we should embrace Rich's knowledge on the finance because we learn.
Right. Anyway,
I was about to go full in the know and start spreading some absolutely ridiculous rumors.
I'm saying nothing anymore.
I learned in the cock and bull, and you'd have destroyed the channel.
No, it's a fair compromise, that, isn't it? Rich educates us with finance, we educate him with City.
Yeah, with all you in the know information.
Pat and Ozzy educators on music. Alan educators on
Been miserable.
Moaning.
Age.
Me Twitter etiquette.
Right. Okay. Right. Let's get to where we've come originally. Listen. We'll come to the right stuff towards the end. There's no point. I know I'm going to jump into this. Ilkay Gundogan has left. That's now official. Gone. Did say a lengthy goodbye today. What I will do is, because I did have this up, I'm going to read you exactly what he has said.
All of it.
At the ready.
Oh, God.
You mean all of it?
There goes an hour of the show. It's a bloody big statement.
All right, then. Basically, if you want to read it, go on mancity.com.
On my Facebook page, because it's on there.
Hold on, 9325. We got it on ours, Ozza.
No.
Got it on our Instagram.
No.
This is what you call preparing to. Ozzy, get it on there at some point. I bet the Declan Rice bid's already on there. That went on 10 minutes ago. Right, yeah. So sadly, Silky Ilk is gone. We were all then expecting Mateo Kovacic to be announced. Funnily enough, one thing I do know, this is not ITK, it is well known now. Yes, he has signed. 2027 contract, 2028 1 or 2. He's going to wear the number 8 shirt. So he's basically going to go filling straight into Gundogan's role. Yeah, Mateo Kovacic. I presume City will announce it tomorrow because they're probably doing the respectful thing of we'll let Gundogan go today, we'll announce Kovacic tomorrow as like a new era, which thinks probably the right thing for me. Let Gundogan have his.
It would have been awkward if it came out, say, 3 or 4 hours after all the Gundogan messages came out on the City app, and
yeah,
it would have been weird.
Medical.
Yeah,
medical's done. He's done his pre-interview, his in-house interview. Contracts are signed, everything's done, and I think he's jolled up on his holidays because that's what they would have done. He's come in, done his stuff, gone on his jollies. Not that he's had a very
his social media.
Season,
His social media has been littered with stories with Kai Havertz because they've been at Kepa, the Chelsea keeper. They've been at his wedding for the weekend and that. So
I'm hearing from a very, very in the know good source that he'll be unveiled tomorrow or announced at 9 a.m. in the morning. And that's from a very, very good source, that, innit, Charlie?
Can you stop that?
No, Charlie's saying in the comments.
We get in trouble when we start that. Anyway, right, so we are here. Josko Gvardiol. Now, it seems that the Croatian is very, very desperate to come to Manchester City, like very desperate to come to Manchester City, to an extent that he's actually already said goodbyes and everything else. And Leipzig have even gone out and started to look for his replacement and started putting bids in for centre-backs. Now, it all depends what you believe. Again, these are reports. The reports came out from Fabrizio Romano that City had talks last week, then the deal was closed, then came out last night. There was a bid had gone in yesterday. Leipzig were wanting a record deal for a defender, which currently stands at 80 million quid for Harry Maguire. I still can't believe I say that in the same sentence. Do you know how mad that seems to say Harry Maguire is the world record for a centre-back? That's just madness. Someone slap me and tell me what United were doing. Sorry, no wonder City walked away from that deal. Even Pep Guardiola laughed at that deal, and Pep was desperate to get Maguire at the time. But even he knew 80 million quid was stupid kind of money.
I'm worth 100 million if he's worth 80.
Exactly, I don't get it. But anyway, City are after the young Croatian. Is anyone presuming we get him? All smoothness on fee and happy as days, Larry, we all move on?
Yes.
Anyone expecting any pushbacks from this? Or
no?
I think there might be a slight pushback. Only the respects of Laporte still being around. I know Spurs, and I think Spurs have offered, but I think he doesn't want to go to Spurs. And why the hell would he want to go to Spurs? I can't blame him. I think there's rumours that Aston Villa want to come in for him. But again, does he really want to step down? No offense to Villa, but does he really want that kind of step down? So I do think this slightly hinges on kind of Laporte leaving. But
Ozzy, I think with Laporte,
I think it has no bearing on Laporte whatsoever.
If it has any bearing on Laporte, we probably won't know until like the week or two leading up to the preseason, because then any players that show any interest in leaving will, certainly Cheeky and Farhan will probably pick up a bit of steam in terms of trying to get them sold to different other clubs. From what I could see from Laporte, just from reports, and I think from just the player himself, don't think he wants to go to another English club, partly out of respect. I think he out of respect to City, and I think he just wants to go back to Spain as well. Only question is who would suit him and who would be able to fork out the money. That's the big issue. But in terms of Gvardiol, look, I'm very, very excited about this. Young, absolute beast of a defender, regarded as one of the top young centre backs in world football at the moment. Leipzig are well within their rights. They're justified to value him at 100 million euro if they want to. Of course, there will be some sort of negotiation. I'm sure we'll be able to drop the price on a fraction. I believe I read some reports too that Leipzig, to make FFP regulations by June 30th or something, they have to sell, or they to sort of cook their books, they have to sell as well. So I think the closer we get to the 30th of June, the more and more I think this transfer will gather some steam as well. As Martin's alluded to, they're already looking for a replacement for him. So yeah, look, I'm confident that this is going to be pretty much wrapped up by the end of the week. Of course, there'll be just a little bit of back and forth, because when you think about it, we're not necessarily a club that has a reputation for going into massive negotiations for a player. We do have the tag of release clause FC, so this may take a little bit of time, but I'm confident it'll get over the line.
Rich, under.
Rich, go on. I'm a little bit with Alan that I believe things when they're in the shirt on the website. Being an old
David
Tom,
Ornstein, you lying bastard.
I lived through. Yeah, I lived through things like, yeah, I lived through Mido, Jeff Thomas. Some real transfer.
Isco about three times.
I guess my feeling on this is
24.
That there's been talk about this for over 12 months. No one else, no other real rumours for him or anything else. So it does kind of seem almost inevitable. He's a fantastic player. He's, he's quick, he's aggressive, he's a good passer. He's perfect for Pep in that he's left back, centre back. So, but in some ways it's an interesting one to me, because I still think Laporte was the best left-sided centre-back in world football, a phenomenal passer. So what's happened between him and City, who knows? And, I can see lots of other positions, particularly in the midfield, where I'm far more concerned about his building. So it's, if we're going to go and spend big bucks on him, it must mean we think he's going to be head and shoulders the best defender of his generation, because it's buying in an area of strength. He's gonna drop the player that Martin, you had as our player of the year.
Coming to that,
because Ake's not going to get anywhere near as much football.
Question we're coming to in a bit.
So yeah, it's great footballer, but it just seems to me it's always seemed not the position we most need when we're going to need to replace De Bruyne, we're going to need to replace Gundogan, Bernardo, all those players.
Well, we're already
far
doing that.
Sooner.
That's why we bidded.
Yeah, well, I don't know that we've got the money to go and be replacing them at that level of quality.
Money, Rick. So, behave.
No. To replace De Bruyne, Bernardo, Gundogan with top world class quality players. If we do, I mean, we've got Foden taking his top world class player, replacing one of them.
By the way, I've got to say this: City Jim 1894. Welcome to the members group. Thank you for the support. That is amazing. Rich, on regards to finance, City won 300 million this year. They made record profits last year. They've got more than enough money. They could slap 300 million down this summer, Rich, and not have any worries.
Yeah, they could.
He's still receiving payments from Barcelona for Ferran Torres.
And it seems, Rich, we are going to slap about 300 million down and not worry.
Yeah. But I'm saying even if you got 300 million, I'm not sure that I'd spend a third of it on a centre back.
Are we forgetting
they're going to spending 200 million on two players?
Yeah. Rich, I get what you're saying.
Play a back line of centre backs.
Gvardiol could be a 10-year player as well too. So in 10 years' time, we could look back on this 100 million. Yeah, absolutely fine with that. Yeah, and by then he might only be about the 7th or 8th most expensive centre back. So
Rich doesn't like Gvardiol.
Yeah.
No,
I do. I like
Gvardiol,
but all I'm saying is, I'm not sure it's our most important issue.
Apparently, not Rich. The reports are saying that apparently this is Pep's number one target all summer and has been for a very long time. He's been very, very keen on this lad for a long time. This is his number one boy that he wants in the door. Seems like he's going to get it. Do you think it is to get this back line of centre-backs?
Absolutely.
Clearly wants.
And we're forgetting something about the financial side. So, like, can we afford to put this much down, that much down? If Bernardo goes, there's an extra 70 million quid. If Laporte goes, you're talking, say, 50 million quid. So those are substantial amounts to put down on players coming in as well. So maybe we won't get rid of, say, Bernardo for, say, 70 million and we'll replace him with a 70 million pound player in. But we might replace Bernardo with a 90 million pound player in, say, for instance, Rice. So the deficit's only 20 million, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but Bernardo, you need to replace two players because Bernardo, you're going to have to replace a right winger and a midfield.
It looks like they're trying to replace one of them, Rich.
But will Laporte? It's competition, isn't it? Listen,
he's not having it at all up there.
Oh, he's had Laporte's had a mad. It seems Laporte's got to go. Whatever's happened, it's broken down.
He's got no bottle. No bottle. We've seen that this season where he's got no bottle. He don't want to fight Nathan Ake for a starting spot like Nathan Ake fought Laporte for a starting spot. So where's his gonads? So if he doesn't want to be with us,
I think in a way too, he was sort of victim of not being part of a winning formula as well. He was victim of not being part of a winning formula.
Injured.
Yeah.
He won us the league the season before injured. He showed more bottle than anyone else in our squad in the season before.
Why is he not fighting?
He won the league for us on one knee. He won the league for us on one knee.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe he felt he's owed. Maybe he was arrogant. He felt he was owed. Maybe he wants out of Manchester like Bernardo. I don't know because it's bizarre. He was a rock. He won us the league on one knee, and then everything fell apart. And there's no rumours or anything else about why. It does appear.
I just don't think Laporte rumours will pick up steam until closer to pre-season.
Yeah, right. I just want to put on record, I've got no problem with Laporte. I think he's been a fantastic player for us. Quite rightly, he won us the league back end of last season. However, Nathan Ake last season had to wait for his opportunity to be it Laporte was injured when Ake come in, but once Ake came in, he was undroppable. Now, why hasn't Laporte had the same tenacity this season to wait for the chance for Ake to be out? Yeah. No, what I'm saying is, so I'm disappointed in the attitude over Laporte, regardless of him winning the league for us last season. Kyle Walker, in my opinion, contributed massively of winning us probably the treble this season at the back end of the season with his performances, but we're quite prepared to let him go.
And I agree. I find it strange. I don't know what's going on. And I also find strange that clubs like Real Madrid aren't in for him because he would improve Real Madrid tomorrow. Laporte, he'd improve.
Oh God, yeah. He's better than Rudiger. He's better than Rudiger. He's better than Eder Militao as well too. I think he'd be a great addition to Real Madrid.
Yeah, I just find it strange.
I'm already picturing now Laporte just pinging these long balls down left side with Vinny Jr. just running at mark speed onto him.
You got to remember, City have changed the way we play. I know Rich, you're going to say, well, we can. Yes, I get all that. But the core of the way we play has now changed. I don't know. Laporte has clearly bottom lip has come out.
He's had a mad.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Rich. The season before, he dragged us over the line, and he'll forever get my thank you for that. But he's kind of ruined that a little bit by dummy coming out on bottom lip this year.
I wonder if we'll ever find out the real story.
We'll ever find out, because I genuinely just, I keep saying this, and it's like I'm on a broken record, and people think I'm talking some foreign language. Players want to play. They don't just want to sit on a bench.
You know, on David Ornstein's tweet, Domino's UK, the official site, but don't worry, Arsenal, we've not got Rice either.
Whoops. No, I genuinely, I just think people need to just. It's down to playing time, players. This is where we're at with the Walker situation. Yes, City have offered contracts, but so have Bayern Munich. And if Bayern Munich are clearly going to offer him more game time than Manchester City on a longer-term deal, then he's got a choice to make. We've just got to stop. We've got to remember, yes, they are some of our fan favourites, and we want to keep them. We don't like the change part. But Kyle Walker, Mahrez, whoever, isn't just going to sit on a bench and do 15, 20 games a season. He won't do it. Same way with McAtee coming back in. McAtee's not going to leave playing 40 games for Sheffield United and come and sit on the bench and play Carabao Cup games for Manchester City. Look at James Trafford was meant to come back. He's turned around and come back and said, I'm only coming back if I'm getting first team football. Who the hell are you to say I'm only coming back if I'm getting first team football, sunshine? Players are now doing this. We demand players. We demand playing time. And it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. They've either got to fight for it or you just leave. And Pep likes a small squad. People are going, we need a bigger squad. Pep doesn't want a bigger squad. Never has wanted a bigger squad. And if we can get Gabardio, Ake, Stones, Diaz, Akanji, and Rico Lewis, you've got 6 there.
Talking about James Trafford, Martin, let's just put this into perspective as well, too. Edison hasn't even turned 30 yet.
I know.
The guy can play for another 10. The guy can play for another 10 years. I'm sorry. We're looking at another 10 years of pecking order issues for future goalkeepers at City. I'm sorry.
He needs to earn the right. He's only a snotty-nosed kid still, and for him to make statements like that, I think that tells us everything about his attitude.
Yeah.
It all comes down to last name, Andy.
So, to answer your question, Ozzy, no, I don't think it does depend on Laporte, because I think...
Wait till he turns 60, though, Pat. He'll be Old Trafford.
Why do you think Laporte could end up at Bayern Munich?
Well, apparently, City's backup option was this Min Jun Soo, or what's he called?
Min Yun Jae, from
Min
Napoli.
Yun Jae, but apparently...
That was never going to happen, though, Martin, because we just don't do business with Napoli.
No, but the problem is that he's got a release clause. So it doesn't matter anyway. The problem is the release clause is only till the 1st of July, which means after the 1st of July, that release clause drops down and then it has to become negotiations. So City were like, from what I read, again, this is just report, City were looking at him as a backup in case they couldn't get Gabardio, but Bayern Munich were then after him. So Bayern Munich are like, we'll go and activate the release clause. I think it's only 50. Because
Bayern are looking at trying to sell Lucas. Bayern are looking at trying to sell Lucas Hernandez to PSG, from what I saw, and I would not be surprised if they're probably trying to get Upamecano out of the door as well too, because they were looking at some sort of a bit of a rebuild, especially in defence. So
they should go for Laporte.
Yeah,
Laporte would be phenomenal for Bayern. Same with Madrid. Same with PSG.
Even if it's a loan deal,
some of the
link
to buy. Maybe, that's it. Possibly, but you know,
City's
intent. City doesn't loan unless they do a João Cancelo and throw the toys at the pram. So
Muddy Duck's got it in one ear. You're looking at 9 potential backline: Gavardio, Ake, Diaz, Kanja, Stones, Walker, Gomez, Lewis, and now Hakimi if he's linked. That's without Laporte. So I think we can afford 1 or 2 out the door. I think for me, defense is not an area where we're sort of it has to be 1 in, 1 out because we're okay.
Though, Martin, because you look at like 3 seasons ago, our defense was a mess. You know, we had so many players injured. It was. We all knew it needed sorting out, and now we're kind of struggling to get all these players in. You know, I think the likes of Gomez will probably go, whether that's a loan or permanent. Hakimi's a bit of a weird one because as much as I do kind of rate him, it's not really going to be I can't see how he fits in if we're going with the full centre backs. Do you know what I mean?
His legal problems behind him as well. I mean, I thought he was still under investigation.
Yeah,
after he got.
I don't know. We'll leave that, Rich.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll
leave that, Rich.
There are question marks to him. I mean, yeah.
I just know that he wants out of PSG. Him and PSG's relationship has fallen apart, big style, regardless of any charges. I think
him and Mbappe are falling out big style. Have you heard that one? Him and Mbappe were like best friends, but they've got the same agent, which is Mbappe's mum. Have you seen what Hakimi said about Mbappe's mum? Like, whoa, you're not going to be friends so much longer with that one.
The other problem I have too with Hakimi is obviously the current club. He's at PSG, you know, because we talk about when we played him in previous Champions Leagues. It's like on the field there's the talent there, but I just don't think they have the chemistry off the field because it's very much like a tall poppy syndrome sort of, you know, the big ego or, you know, a whole clubhouse of big egos, and I don't want that potential toxicity coming to Manchester City as well.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like I've always thought it's like if there was a good club for João Cancelo to go to, given his history of, you know, not playing at clubs for more than 2 or 3 seasons, I think PSG would suit him to a T.
I think Charlie makes a great point here. Only the Super Cup and Club World Cup. It's like 3 or 4 games. We're not. Everyone's saying more competitions. We're not talking an extra 20 games added in here. We're talking 3 or 4. You can't say to Laporte, just stay for 4 games. And Laporte goes, yeah, all right. I'll sit back on your bench for 4 games this season. He ain't gonna do that. That's just simple be all and end all of it. And I also think you gotta remember the way I look upon it is if City do what we think they're gonna do, and it looks like they're about to do, we won't do this again for another 3, 4, 5 years. What we'll then do again is then just go back to just the 1 or 2 signings in a summer. I don't think we'll get another big swelling like we're about to do.
Relegation, yeah.
Vauxhall Conference League.
Minus 115.
I'm worried what Muddy Duck's saying there. Hakimi is having a hump with Mbappe's mum. Oh, has got the hump with Mbappe's mum, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, he's turned around and said that Mbappe's mum is very naive and he's really. I was going to say he's gone to town on her, but I won't. That'll even come out worse. Veta, good evening. Veta Games will be back on Thursday. He's just.
They can't wait to
tell you what. He's really milking this treble celebration. Is Veta? Veta's really enjoying himself.
After the fact.
Yeah.
19, yeah, it's about 19. And by the way, Muddy Duck, I got your email again. I will. I'm going to comply them over the week, and we'll go through it on the Thursday night show, mate. So keep them coming in.
And just one final thing in regards to defense as well. Whether Laporte leaves, Gavardio comes in, I think you can end the conversation with anybody else, any other opposing fans, that we easily have the best defensive depth in European, if not world football now, without a doubt.
Yeah, we already do.
I thought that anyway.
I mean, regardless whether Laporte goes, Guardiola's in, anything like that. Yeah, I think it's absolute. It's an absolute.
Guardiola is 21.
No-brainer.
Invincibles, anyone? Invincibles next season, anyone?
Do you know what I find amazing is Guardiola ends up being the player we can. You know, he ends up being. It's like he could play 10 years. He could play 10 years at City. and he could leave at 31, and we could still probably get back half the money that we paid for him. At 31, if he's a quality centre back and he wants to go somewhere else, we'll probably still sell him on for 50 million.
Yeah, I agree with that.
By the way, just throw some extra transfer. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Mahrez is going to miss up to 5 or 6 games next season because his team have qualified for the AFCON.
Oh yeah,
just throwing that one out there to everyone.
I think Julie made a good point then about the fella about military duty, mate.
Oh yeah, because it's because it's mandatory military duty. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. No, so I wouldn't even touch on no.
Some say Mahrez has been gone missing.
You can depending on like what with sports stars, you can actually put requests in with the Korean government about deferring. Yeah, get out of it or defer it until the end of your career. Yeah, Son did that.
Yeah, so I was going to say Son does get out of it.
No, Son did. Yeah.
I mean, all right. So 21. Probably around about 85 million quid. Everyone happy with that? Anyone a bit, everyone all right?
If you're getting, say, 50 back for Laporte, you're paying 30 million, aren't you?
I still think we'll be slightly lucky to get 50 million for Laporte. I think he's on his last year?
2 years.
No, he's got
3
years. No, he's got 3 years on him.
Right. Oh.
No, I think it's just 2. I know it's not 3. I think we talked about it last summer.
Same as Bernardo, so yeah, it might be too much.
Yeah. So I think we'll get around the 40 million mark. If we want him out the door, he'll go for, unless he goes to Bayern Munich on loan, and it's
we need to dodge loans.
Wouldn't rule them out as well, because don't forget you do get loan fees in them. You might get a loan with an obligation to buy.
Yeah, but say he's got 2 years left. You send him to Bayern Munich on loan, and then he's into his last year, and then all a view to buy and stuff like that. We're seeing that
obligation. So you say to me, want them, you got to buy him at this price at the end.
If he plays 40 games in a season or something, then you must buy him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
which I'm a bit worried about because Spanish clubs have a habit of actually making sure that they literally play 39 games.
Exactly, and that's what we're seeing now with Cancelo out where with Bayern Munich. We got a little bit. I know we needed him out of the club quickly. Well, Pep did, and Pep was proven right. But he's in the wilderness now, isn't he, Cancelo? He's looking like he may go to Arsenal.
He could go.
All right. Breaking news: Ozzy, all fears averted, mate. Chelsea coming in for Laporte, so we'll get 150 million.
Yay!
Lovely. Andy, I think you also have to remember, though.
And then they'll load him out to Newcastle.
The problem that we've got is when it comes to certain players, and most of our players, we should be getting a decent whack for them. But the problem is most of Europe have got very little money. That's why, Chelsea are having to sell their players off to, Saudi Arabia. Other clubs are having to sell within the Premier League to other teams because that's where the money is. Mm-hmm. Europe have not got the money to be whacking out 60, 70 million on one player at the moment. I mean, unless they
Let's move on to this guy. Abdallah thinks we need to tie down Kyle Walker ASAP.
I agree with him.
Because it's the same sentiment as we should keep Laporte because he won us the league.
No, I for me, it's not sentiment. It's smart business with Walker. I've said this previous times. I think Walker is one of the best right backs, if not the best right back at the moment.
Oh yeah, I want him. I want him to stay. 100%. I want him to stay. He only wants another year, an extension on his contract. For me, it's a no-brainer.
But we don't know that.
But it's a good bet, Martin, that he probably does, because I think he's kind of dream is to eventually go back to Sheffield United where he started.
What's the negotiation with Bayern Munich for them?
We don't know that.
Well, we don't know that, Martin. Again, it's speculation, isn't it? So,
and of course,
that's what a good agent does.
The sources from Bayern are saying they're quite far down the line with it.
But that's what a good agent does. They put out the feeling.
And that's what pro buying media does too.
Yeah.
But
Again,
in the same respect,
time.
so pretty much the same sources are saying that Declan Rice wants to go to Arsenal, and all of a sudden we put a bid in tonight. So
No, Andy, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, the way I look upon it, yes, the sources, but when 2 or 3 people start coming out with the same story of it, I then look at someone to start denying it. Nobody from Bayern and nobody from City has come out and said there is no contact between Kyle Walker. And it's been going on for a week.
Well, that's because he's one of our players, Martin. And
Well, Bayern Munich can turn around and say there's no interest. They've done it over other players so far, Ross.
Yeah, but sometimes the relationship between Bayern Munich and City
want to believe and ignoring what we don't want to believe.
The relationship between Bayern and City has been quite bad over the last few years. I think with the loan offer of João Cancelo shows that the relationship has improved slightly. And I think if they want to get any more of our players in the future, then they're going to have to be a bit,
The tapping up of Leroy Sané still, leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I never liked that.
Behave with the tapping up. Everyone.
Come on. We spoke.
Everyone taps up. Let's not play
18. We talked to Pep for 18 months, if not 3 years, whilst he was Bayern manager. We signed him as our manager. We played for Bayern.
Barcelona.
If there was anything going on, it was Bayern trying to get their own back.
Yeah, let's not. That's pot calling kettle.
I think we started it.
Hang on, I'm just on the phone to him. I'm just on the phone to Mbappe.
Hang on, so...
just talking to Mbappe.
Look,
anyway, going back onto
Ozzy, I get what you're saying about. Sorry, mate. I just quickly get what you're saying about Kyle Walker, and I'd allowed my thoughts on Kyle Walker to just sort of mull in my mind over the last couple of days. And I think if I go back to a particular moment in season just completed, is when we played away at Newcastle. And if we remember when Kyle Walker was asked by Pep to play that inverted fullback role, and he had an absolute mare. He had an absolute mare, obviously, trying to mark and trying to deal with St. Maximin. And I think that was sort of, not the writing was on the wall, but you could kind of see that was the reason, I think, why Pep was willing to give 18-year-old Rico Lewis a chance to play, because he's grown up playing that style of football, being an inverted fullback and inverted right back. Now, I think it's safe to say that whatever happens, if Walker does continue to play for City next season, you're going to see more game time from Rico Lewis. Not a huge amount. Maybe an extra half a dozen games more. Maybe even 10 games more, whether that be starting or off the bench. Kyle Walker's going to want to still play. He's still got plenty of legs in him for 33. And I think if he was interested in Bayern Munich, he'd be going there because he'd be looking at assurances that he's going to get a lot more game time than what he thinks he's going to get at Manchester City. Benjamin Pavard is on his way out as well too, from what I've heard of Bayern Munich as well too. So there's going to be less competition for him at the right back position, right wing back position at Bayern Munich as well. So I think there is a bit to this Bayern Munich deal. I just don't. I think Walker sees this as possibly, again, a similar Gundo situation, going out as a treble winner. But I do think that he must feel that he has a lot more game time in him than what he possibly thinks that City can offer him next season.
Yeah,
that's all it is with me. I think
it started at that Newcastle 3-3 game, in my opinion. That's where it started.
And this is what, if he signs, great. If he doesn't and he wants to go and play 30, 40 games, good luck to him. And who thinks he'll stay?
I'm on the fence.
Yeah.
Splinters up your ass.
I'm on the fence listening to the Leave Party more.
I'm on the fence. If he's happy to play not number one choice, then keep him.
How do we know that though?
What do you mean?
How do we know he's not going to be number one choice? If he's
not, Andy, you know he's not.
No, if he's banging form, Pep plays him.
He was banging form against Real Madrid and got dropped for the Inter Milan final, Andy.
It means nothing, mate.
One choice, mate.
The thing is, though, Martin,
means nothing.
Yeah.
Look, this is what I mean. You say a point, I dispute the point, and that means nothing because it doesn't suit the argument or the agenda.
No, Martin, but if you think about it, you look at Laporte, who we were just talking about last season before, he saved us.
Doesn't matter.
And then, exactly, and that is what my point is. If you are in form under Pep will play you. And that is what could happen with Walker next season, is that, let's just say Stones has a complete mare and Rico Lewis isn't up to it.
But he's not.
You are going to look at
maybes. He's not going to sign a contract on if buts and maybes.
No, but I'm not saying it's if buts and maybes. You know, when you come into the Pep side, no, Martin, we've talked about it so many times.
No, listen. Instead of arguing, listen to what you just said. If Stone starts the season badly, that's if buts and maybes. You can't sign a contract on that.
No, Martin, but as I was about to make my point is that no player is bigger than the team and bigger than Pep.
Yeah.
So if Pep feels that he's going to make rotations like he does, then you have to accept that. That's the reason Sterling didn't stay.
Okay.
Is because
when did he make rotation in the big games, Oz?
He made quite a few rotations here and there, Martin.
He had a set 11.
But when was the last time we had a set 11?
No, exactly. That's his point. Ozzy,
one season out of 7, Martin.
Well, that's how we can go off, Ozzy.
Well, I know, exactly. And that's what I'm saying to you, is that next season that could change yet again.
Letting your heart rule your head, if you want my honest opinion. That's what I think. Because you're desperate for Walker to stay.
No,
that's fine.
But I see the quality that Walker still brings to certain games.
That's fine. But Pep may not. And it's Pep's choice, not ours.
What he made.
Yeah.
He also
that's what I was saying. Give myself a couple of days to think about it. I've allowed myself to I've been able to detach myself from the sentimentality of it and just seeing what I think is like reality.
I was listening to people. I got told that Kyle Walker was brilliant against Bayern Munich. He didn't play, but what they did was, because he had such a good game against Real Madrid, everyone's mind went and played tricks and thought he'd played in the Bayern Munich. He hardly played in the Champions League.
Can I just say, I think you, all four of you, are neglecting the most important point. Kyle Walker is one of our senior players. He talks very regularly to Pep. He's going to have a conversation with Pep. If Pep wants him to extend, he's not going to want him to extend, never to play him, and anything else. So I think it's going to come down to that conversation.
Is he not? He extended Laporte.
If he extends, but he extended Laporte when Laporte was a very, very main part of the team.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
We'll sit down with Walker. They will have a conversation, and from that, it will be decided whether Pep wants him to extend and whether Carl wants to extend. And if he extends, it shows that he is in the plans. And if he goes, it shows he isn't.
Don't. Otherwise, Gundo would have stayed rich.
No, Gundo made a choice. Gundo made his choice. We're talking about City's choice here.
Gundo
made a choice that he wanted 3 years and lots of money and sunshine.
No, you just
Martin, you are arguing with Pep. You're arguing with Pep and Walker.
Rich, I'm not arguing. And by the way, shouting and bawling at me and getting your voice louder doesn't make your point correct, by the way. What I'm saying is, Rich,
you can't trust the Pep Walker conversation.
If Walker stays, he stays. If he goes, he goes. But you just said if Pep wants to keep Walker, it means he wants to play him. Pep wanted to keep Gundogan. It was out on record. I want to keep Gundogan. I told the board what they want. Did the board do what Pep wanted him to do? No.
Yeah, but that's not the point I'm talking about. I'm talking about the decision between Walker and Pep.
We don't know that.
Gundogan made a decision based on length of contract and, probably wanting to go to Barcelona and go to Spain more than he's letting on, because he doesn't want to, badmouth City in any way. And I think it's different. I'm just saying that. Yeah.
Can we all remember a
conversation?
Can we remember a conversation that we had a few months back as well? Is where we were debating whether or not we actually wanted Gundo to even get a fresh contract. because it was only up until the end of the season that really he came into form. So there was a conversation literally on this channel to say, does he really deserve a fresh contract? Should we just let him go? You know, so it all depends on what's going on at that time. And yes, he was offered a new contract, but obviously because he got out on a high, he was a free agent, that makes sense for him. So I think we have to remember the conversations we've all had previously about players.
And we do. I'm saying it's up to Walker for me. If he stays, he stays. He goes, he goes. I'm just of the opinion, if he goes, I understand it, because he might not get the game time. Because I do think, and this is just my opinion, I think Pep will go with the back line of centre backs, and Walker might not want to sit back on the bench.
We're only speculating. I agree with Rich. It'll come down to a conversation between Walker and Pep.
They always do. That's how contracts happen.
And that conversation will be before they hop on the plane to Japan as well.
Yeah.
The only part
Walker's enjoying his summer, and then when he comes back, that's when they go down the business.
Players want to play. That's the problem. They want to play. They want to play the big games, and it's whether Walker might get more games at a certain club, and he might not get the other club. He might not want to move abroad. We have no idea.
Look at it this way: if Walker wants to go to Bayern, then we just needed to do a reverse Cancelo and just throw his toys at the Prem in January, and then we can loan him back, and then we can use him against Real Madrid.
Walker did throw his toys out in January.
No, I mean for next season.
So did Diaz, as a good reminder.
He can do a reverse. He can do a reverse Cancelo.
I never once said Diaz didn't. Apparently, there was order of it. Cancelo was the worst. Then it was Walker. Then it was.
We don't know this, mate.
Somebody else.
We don't know this.
Well, we know Cancelo was the worst.
We know Cancelo. We can't put a line of who was worst, who was second and third. Listen, if it was Cancelo's
the first ever player who got canned out like that under. So it's serious.
So absolutely, but the other four, you can't put them in categories who was worse than the other one for petulance and stuff.
But again, I'm just going off what reporters say. City reporters, Jack Gorn, Sam Lee, that's what they all said.
Don't say it on Twitter, mate.
Have you noticed we're following up with reports tonight?
I'm not sure that Walker will get a Bayern. I mean, he made a big deal when he came to City about being back near Sheffield, and even during lockdowns, he was popping back to Sheffield and stuff. He struck me as not saying he's an Ian Rush who'll move to Italy and discover it's a bit foreign or something, but I don't know. He seems to me like unlikely to move and unlikely to be particularly happy moving.
What did he recall, Lewis?
You do what you did with Foden. You're playing more. You're playing more and more. He comes off the bench more, and he plays.
No, that's what I mean.
He's too young to be first choice. He's too young to be first choice. So you got to find a medium.
The idea is to play more than last season. So he played 14 times. You want him to play a bit more, which might mean Walker's got to play a bit less.
Yeah.
We're never going to get.
You can't first choice him. You can't first choice starter him. But at the same time too, it's a tug of war between trying to give your senior player more game time, but at the same time not losing interest of your young up and coming player as well. So
but I think you are in.
If Rico's 5 years older, Walker, wish you all the best, mate. We've got a perfect.
There's a bit of danger, right? Two things. One, we've shown in the past over many seasons when we were playing a back four that we could have 2 first choice left backs and 2 first choice right backs in the same team and rotate, because fullbacks need rotation. Now we don't quite play that role anymore, but the other assumption you're all making is that we don't get injuries. We've had probably our best season possibly in the entire time I've supported City in 40-something years last season, where we had no injuries in midfield. And, whilst the first half of the season we had injuries in defence and we had to go out and sign a 5th centre-back because of those injuries in defence at the time, there's no way that's going to happen again next season. We could be in September and have Stones and Diaz out till Christmas and, Rodri and De Bruyne out till Christmas. And we have got to get that balance right, because we are never going to get a season as good as this one for injuries. We saw the season before where our season nearly collapsed at the end because we had to play Laporte on one knee. We had to play Stones in a state where he got taken off after 20 minutes, where Walker was injured. Ake couldn't play. I mean, and that could happen again. So,
Rich, I think that scared Pep as much as that Real Madrid semi-final did.
Yeah, I mean, we had no defense.
Sorry, can I just read this? I'm just looking at stuff. This is from Sam Lee. It's going to be in the Athletic tomorrow. This is news from the Don. Sam Lee calls him the Don.
Me?
The Don, not me. Not you.
As in Donna Kebab.
The Don, according to the Don, Rich Williams, we have heard from the... I'm only joking now. According to the Don, which is David Ornstein, City have bid 80 million plus 10 million add-ons for Declan Rice. Guardiola suspected this outcome before he left Manchester for this summer, or for his summer holidays at the start of June, and left those above him with 3 names to get. Those 3 names were Chelsea midfielder Mateo Kovacic, RB Leipzig defender Josko Gvardiol, and if Gundogan was indeed to leave, West Ham United midfielder and captain Declan Rice.
I don't believe David Ornstein as much as I don't believe Sam Lee, as much as I don't believe Fabrizio and the other Joker.
Oh, are they all guessing?
No, but once you get
Did you
one...
not believe Haaland last season?
No, just listen. Just bear with me. Once you get one so-called top journalist tweeting something, everybody jumps on the back of it, so it looks like everybody's saying it, so it must be true.
No, I know. I get what you're saying, Andy, but this is what I say to Alan. We can't last year all brisket over all these journals because Erling Haaland was the guy we all wanted and he was coming, and then all of a sudden they're all talking crap this year.
Well, we thought we were getting Bellingham, Martin, so that's...
No, and we don't know what happened with Bellingham. I think the Bellingham stuff will come out in the wash.
Went belly up.
I think
he wanted to go to Madrid.
You know, you've seen the same thing I saw in Bellingham.
Because he couldn't go to Liverpool.
I did word in for it. The simple fact is that I'm just saying sometimes I think we like to think we want to believe some things and not believe other things. And I think sometimes it's just I think to me the way I view it is they get some things wrong, they get some things right.
Do you think, Martin, I think just a question to ask, are we getting this negativity because truly none of us actually want Rice?
I think people don't like change, Oz.
No, I'm sensing.
I think that's a massive part of it.
Yeah, I think
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But I've not heard anyone, especially on this channel, who's really gone, Rice is the man. We've got to get him. He's the midfield replacement. This is what we need. None of us have said that. Why not? I keep hearing.
A little bit of it is.
I think he's a very good.
Rich, not one day, not once last year have you come out and said City should buy.
No, he has grown on me over last season. The start of last season, I said he's over. I said I thought he was overrated. But I have seen he's done a lot more offensively this year. He's taken a lot more responsibility. He's been a lot more box to box, and I think he's shown he's a better footballer than he was a year ago.
Sorry, I'm just looking at other stuff. Carry on.
Right, so let me ask you a question because I've asked myself this one because I talk to myself quite a lot because it's the only way I can get sense sometimes, especially in this house. Right, how many times have we actually paid total attention to Declan Rice? You know, every West Ham game. I've not. So I'm only listening to West Ham like groups and stuff like that, you know, because they obviously watch him week in, week out. And from what I'm hearing, Declan Rice is he's been playing at predominantly number 6 at West Ham because they don't have much possession, which I get that. However, they're all universal in saying he could quite easily do that number 8 role where he'd probably thrive. I'm only taking West Ham fans' opinions But ultimately, we'll only see it like we did with Jack Grealish. We didn't watch him week in, week out, and now we're seeing him week. How many of us with Jack Grealish when he was at Villa thought diving little shit?
Yeah.
But when you actually watch him week in, week out, he's good. Same with Craig Bellamy in years gone by. We used to think he was a horrible little so and so, but when he plays for you, you think,
yeah. Do you know what? Do you know what I think? Do you know what I think? The people who are not sure or are saying no to Declan Rice, and I think every fan can put their hands up and say, yeah, I'm at fault for thinking that way. Is we always our first thought on what our opinion of a player is how did he perform when he played against us? And Declan Rice he had solid games when he played against us, but he never blew us away. And I think that's a factor in why there's a certain percentage of Blues out there that aren't really sort of either saying no or can't be asked about this signing because he never blew us away when he played us.
I
think that goes with every fan of every club when a new signing comes.
But why are we going in?
Especially if it is coming from another English club, that is.
Yeah, Rich. Sorry, Pat. Why are we going in for Garvey Doll then? Garvey Doll, because
this was something I wanted to say about. I forgot to mention about Gvardiol at the top of the show. Was I think the problem was I think I even said it before the second leg against Leipzig. I said let's be on Gvardiol watch because there were already sort of a little bit of talks here and there going on about that City might be interested in him in the summer. I was like, well, let's have a look and see how he performs over these two legs. Did a good job in the first leg, scored a goal which was a bit dodgy because effectively try to pull a wrestling move on Ruben Diaz or Rodri, whoever it was. But then the second leg, it's really hard to sort of analyze a defender when they're getting pep at 7-0. But one thing I'll give Gvardiol credit for was he didn't stop the whole 90 minutes. He kept trying, he kept playing, and you got to give the guy a bit of credit there too. But at the same time, we can't exactly analyze his performance when the rest of his team are getting beaten up by Haaland, basically.
Absolutely, mate. And one thing we've not took into consideration as well, the development, the way Pep brings players on as well. 100%. So you imagine what Rice could do, where he's not going to have to. It's not with Rodri in the team. He's not going to have to track back much, is it? It's a case of this.
And let's not forget too that particular. If we want to be picky about it as well too, Gvardiol played in the Leipzig team that season that I think went through about 2 or 3 managers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a big factor too.
The Pep factor will bring both players through if both players.
It's a bit of snobbery.
Yeah.
Is it because he's English?
That's what I mean by the snobbery. Because he's not called Ricinho.
Well, the thing is he has got 1 year left on his contract. Am I right?
2.
Is it 2?
No,
years?
Oh, right. He's only got 1 year.
He's only got 1.
No, it's 2. He's actually said himself in an interview. He said he's got 2-year deal left. When a fan asked him about is he staying, it was on might have been Sky Sports News or something. He went, "I'm a West Ham player. I've got 2 years left."
So is that 2 as in like 1 with a vesting option or?
No, it's 2.
Okay. I could have sworn it was 1. Anyway, come on.
Well, the question I'm asking is whether it's 1 or 2. 1 obviously makes a difference, but even still with 2, is he worth 100 million with 2 years left on his contract?
He's only got a year under.
There you go.
To West Ham he is because when he goes, that's a massive. That's a big rebuild for West Ham. They're probably going to need to bring about 2 or 3 midfielders.
Well, it must be a year with the option of an additional year because on the website it's only a year. 2024 it comes out.
It came out of his mouth on an interview and a young fan.
It's on the West Ham website, so one of them's telling.
What do they know?
They only own him.
It may be that he's got an extra year as a buy-on option.
That's what I'm saying. It might be a buy-on option.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is is he now to West Ham? Yes, you're right, Pat. The player is worth what they're willing to mark him as. But what I'm saying is he worth that to City? Is he worth them spending 100 million on him with a year left?
Okay. Oh, let me throw one back at you then. Give me a cheaper alternative.
No, but before we get onto alternative, because I'm struggling myself to think of an alternative, but I still think the question needs to be answered by everyone. Like, do we really think he's worth that kind of money?
I think we're a machine, City, and if he's the right part to go into the machine, then he's worth a lot more than that. If he's the wrong part, he's not worth that. And the trouble is, we won't know that till he's really played. That if we didn't sign him and Arsenal went on and won the league and we had problems in midfield, we didn't win the Champions League, we'd lose that 100 million in one season, as opposed to having an asset that even if it doesn't go well, maybe loses a bit of money. If he comes in and does a good job and we go on and we do well in Europe, we do well in the Premier League again, then he'll be well worth it. And I think that's, we've seen that a lot with City. A lot of our players, when they leave, they don't go on and do fantastically at other clubs. They don't all go on and improve otherwise, because at City, you're part of a machine. You've got, a very sophisticated coach who gives you a role. And if you're the right player for that, you're worth far more to City than you probably are at another club. And, Declan Rice, he'll bring us a bit of box to box. He'll bring us some youth. He'll bring us some energy. I think he's got good football. Will he be moulded by Pep? That's going to be his intelligence as a footballer and his attitude. And trouble is, we won't know until he signs and until he's playing, and maybe not till 12 months in.
I know Andy needs to go. Come back to this, and I want to just double check some of the comments. Andy, you need to go, mate. Thank you for joining us. Can I just Andy's channel has hit 1,000 subscribers. Big up tonight, 320 podcast.
Well done, mate.
You all did very well getting them to that. Well done to everyone in the chat. Thanks to all.
Absolutely. Don't know why we're rubbish.
And then Martin's gone unmuted himself. So
agree with you, mate. You are rubbish, but no, man. Me and Andy will be back at some point boiling some more piss.
I'm putting Martin right again.
Someone's got to.
Yeah. Listen, good catching up with you guys. Great. You can't beat a mass debate, especially on a Monday night. It's been terrific.
Dirty bastard.
Take care. Have fun. I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
See you, mate.
Here's a question to you all. Was Jack Grealish worth 100 million?
He had 5 years left on his deal. It was a buyout clause.
Was it worth it, though?
I think now we've got a Champions League from it.
No, yeah. I know this
at the time, no.
When you ask the question, is it worth it? It becomes a subjective situation. Right now, with no Ilkay Gundogan, the chances of Bernardo Silva going are probably 50-50 at best. Or staying, should I say, or what, 50-50 at best? Yeah, we do need him. Plus, if Kyle Walker goes as well, we're very short on homegrown players.
I think it's
I don't know about him.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely key to Pep's strategy for winning the World Cup with England. So,
and plus, I think it's all to the part of no, I don't think Pep's going to go back to this direct wingness. I think it is control. I think he wants more control to what he wants now. And this is whole let's play control ball all over the shop now. And this is what he wants. Control.
I don't
and
he's going to feel Declan control. I feel that. Yeah, I feel
and also it's a leader.
Box.
No, but Bellingham, you look at the plays he goes after, the leaders, the captains or the vice captains everywhere. He wants captains. He wants leaders. He wants.
They're intelligent. They're intelligent
or sub captains. Yeah.
Like Bellingham was a captain of Dortmund. We've just lost Gundogan. Rice is the captain of West Ham. I think this is the way he sees it. I'm never bothered about prices. I never really get bothered because it ain't my money. And listen, City have been accused so much for 10 years of buying the league, buying this, buying that. And we've sat there for year after year going, no, we don't. We sell our youngsters. We don't make this amount of money. And we bring. And we sit there playing Countdown, Carol Vorderman maths with all these other supporters. Do you know what? I'm at a point where, do you know what? You think we do it anyway. So do you know what? We're going to do it this season. Screw you. This summer, we're going to do exactly what you said we do. We're going to spend, boil all the piss, and here we go. This is how daft this could be. The window's been open 5 days, and within the next week, City may have spent a good part of 200 million quid. That's boiling the piss. That's saying we won the treble. We're going to take the best centre-back out of Germany and place him in our team at 21. We're going to lose Ilkay Gundogan. Okay, that's not a problem. We'll take England international and West Ham captain Declan Rice that our main competitors want as well. So not only do we piss the rest of the Premier League off, we stop our so-called arch rivals in Arsenal coming in and getting their main target of the season. I think it's great. I love it. I'm like, carry on, let's go. We'll win.
Martin, I think you make some brilliant points. I just think the question has to be asked. Do you know what I mean? Because we asked it about Grealish, so I don't see why we can't ask it about, Rice. Do you know what I mean? Because I think when you're talking £100 million players, we've done it once, and now we're about to do it twice, possibly.
I love it.
No,
I love it.
I think you're right. It's boiling the piss, and
it's cheaper than Bellingham, and we were all worried about bloody Bellingham. No, apparently that has now been turned down. The bid has been turned down. According to Jacob Steinberg at The Guardian, that's now been rejected and City will go back. The only thing I would say is, Fabrizio...
That's also the same journalist that was waxing lyrical saying he's going to stay in London.
Exactly. So. Fabrizio, Ornstein, and Sam Lee and someone else all said City would not make the offer unless they had indications Rice would come. If City have now gone with the offer...
Which makes sense to me.
It means Rice, someone in the Rice camp has gone, I fancy that.
So I'm going to wait.
I've always found the whole stay in London.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always found the whole stay in London thing a bit bizarre. I kind of get it if you're Bernardo and you want to be somewhere that's 1,000 miles away, but a footballer can jump in a helicopter and be anywhere. I mean, Jack Grealish is as Birmingham as they come. He's still got his house just south of Birmingham. He's a complete Birmingham lad, but he can be in Cheshire or the centre of Manchester, and he can be home in Birmingham to see his mates and do what he wants to do every single week. And it's not like living in parts of Cheshire isn't just the same as living in Surrey anyway. I mean, it's I find that one a bit bizarre. I mean,
I think these train strikes must be getting to these players.
Well, as if they need to get trains. I just think that for me, I think David James said it best that if really you've got City and Arsenal after you, if Pep has really said to you, "I'm going to play you," this is where we need to go, and this is how I'm going to use you. So I'm going to make you best. Why would you not choose to play for the best team in world football, for the best manager in world football, alongside a bigger number of England colleagues, alongside, some great young players? You would. I mean, he's been crystal clear all his life. For him, his football career is about winning things. Right. Declan Rice has always said it.
I just need to leave a minute. I need to go and check the oil in the helicopter. So it won't be a minute.
Yeah. Check the
replace, he's got to replace the batteries in the remote control.
I've so many, all the Arsenal fans on Twitter are, saying, "Oh, it's there." There couldn't be a better team to sign for in world football at the moment than Arsenal. And real footballers go for projects. They don't go for trophies. And it's nonsense. Footballers go for trophies. Playing football. And money. And, we talk a lot, and I think this is very apt for Calvin Phillips' conversation, is we talk a lot about footballers, but if they are elite mentality, they believe they're going to play. They don't believe that the manager's not going to play them or they're not going to get enough game time. They believe they'll go. Now, if they've been there 2 years and it hasn't happened, they might say they're going to go. And, Laporte might now have that mentality, but they all believe they're the best. And if Declan Rice he's really spoken to Pep and Pep sold him that he's going to play. I don't see why. I don't see any logical reason why he'd then say, oh, I'm going to go to Arsenal.
Yeah, I think you're right, Rich. I think if you look at players that come to City, generally they get better. You know, they become better players. And that is shown because of what we've won over the last few seasons. And I think with Rice coming in, I think he knows that there's still a project there because the midfield needs work. You know, we've got Rodri, who's going to stay for a good few more years. But then you're looking at KDB, he'll probably leave within the next 2. You know, and Gundo's gone, and now, you know, Bernardo's probably at the door as well. So there is a rebuild there. He is going to get game time, and he's only going to get better under a Pep system.
And he's going to play in that absolute spine. If he comes to City, the absolute spine of the England team, you know, starting from Stones, you know, up through Rice, you know, often playing with Phillips, then with Grealish and Foden in front. That's an absolute spine of England. So, I mean, the biggest winners, if he signed for City, would be the national team as well. I mean, even though I want Wales, obviously, to win, and so it's not quite so exciting for me. But I think, you know, that is a massive thing for England if he does that. And I think, you know, we've got England's future right back. Forget about, you know, Trent or whatever, but we've got Walker there now, and we've got Lewis coming through, who also is going to be, I think, potentially getting games for England and you know, going defence into midfield. So I think there's a lot of reasons for Rice to come to City if that interest is real. And you've all seen his pool room. He's there, you know, doing a massive interview for the media with 4 City shirts, you know, that are his most prized possession, getting Silva and De Bruyne and, you know, Yaya, I think it was, and
the signed Michael Owen Newcastle shirt's a bit of a weird one.
Well, he's a former, you know, Ballon d'Or winner, isn't he? So, you know,
yeah,
or whatever it was.
I think with Declan Rice, I think the choice is the choice of ambition, if such a thing exists. Because you're looking at if you come to City, you got to fight for your spot, but at the same time too, you could look back at the end of the season with a trophy and say, yeah, I gave it my all, or I didn't. Now I've got to start again and chase, and, you know, a la Calvin Phillips, and chase another dream again. While at Arsenal, it comes down to I'm going to play 90 minutes every single game because there's probably not going to be as much competition for my position as well. I've said this on previous shows before. I said the problem that I think Arsenal had, especially with their attack, and I'm using Martinelli as an example here, was there was no other player in his position to compete with him, to compete with him week in, week out, to make sure that he was started, to make sure he was going to be a nailed-on starter. He knew he was going to be a starter no matter how hard he trained, you know, during the week and things like that. And I think that was part of the reason why, you know, the second half of the season for him was nowhere near as productive as it was the first half. So I think for Declan Rice, I think the big choice there is that he knows if he comes to City, he's going to compete, knowing that he won't play as many games as he would at Arsenal. But also too, it's just basically saying that if he makes a mistake, or if his intensity drops off just a fraction, he knows that his position is going to be jeopardized. If it's at Arsenal, I don't think it's going to be as easy as that.
And I think Declan Rice had a similar decision to make 4 or 5 years ago when he was deciding what international team to play for, and you had everyone out saying, you know, you should play for Ireland. Your ancestry is all Ireland. Your heart's Ireland. You're going to be the absolute centre of the Ireland team. But when it came down to it, he chose England because he wanted to go and win stuff and play at the top tournaments and win things. And, you know, whether his heart was, you know, pulling him a bit towards Ireland, he went for England. And I think that may be the case again. And, you know, it's just, you know, it's also given, you know, all the Arsenal fans, you know, a chance to show how little they know about football as well, because we've had all the history comments made again. You know, you're going to go and play for a club with history, and, you know, I've done an academic factual study on history of Arsenal versus City, and we've achieved nearly everything before they did. You know, we started before they did. We got in the top flight before they did. We won cup. You know, with the
our
FA
first,
Cup.
we won our first trophy before they were even known as Arsenal.
Decades. We won our first trophy for them. And you know, we've had a number of crowds well in excess of anything they've ever done. I mean, you know, I think they get a bit carried away with the number of trophies, which still is higher than us, but it actually won't be for much longer. And they really confuse, you know, a period of success, which is mainly quite a long time ago now, with history. But City, on every factual aspect of history, were there first and doing it first. So whichever way you look, you know, and, you know, the truth is, and this is a bit of truth to Cockneys, but football, the heart of football in this country is in the northwest of England. You know, 35 of the last top flight titles have been won by a team in the northwest, and 15 have been split. I don't know what, five in the Midlands and 10 for London. But London is secondary in football to the northwest of England, and it has been for most of the history of the game. There's been small periods where Arsenal maybe dominated, but
why do you think the National Football Museum's in Manchester?
Yeah, and you know, and I think if you really are a lover of the history of football, if you really are a lover of football, then you're going to be playing in the northwest of England. You know, English football, that is, not, you know, not obviously Spanish or French, whatever. You're going to be playing in the northwest of England, because whichever part of history you look at, whether it's Liverpool, United, City recently, Everton, or back to the days of Blackburn and Preston and all those teams, that is the home of football in England. So why wouldn't Rice want to go to where, you know, the heart of football? So
yeah, but
we'll see what.
Looking at that, Rich, just look at it, because obviously there's been a few comments about Rice and Arsenal and him wanting to go there. And what if, you know, West Ham play hardball? Well, at the end of the day, we know City don't get into bidding wars. Do you know what I mean? And if Arsenal eventually outbid us and he wants to go to Arsenal, then that's where he goes. Do you know what I mean? And City will go, well, good luck to you, and they'll move on to the next target, because that's what City do. We may not know that target right now, but that target will come out eventually, because we'll sign them. You know, Rice is our number one target at the moment, but if he goes to Arsenal, then we move on. Yeah, it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah. Do you fully understand the Arsenal? Because as far as I've been aware of Declan Rice, he's always been, until this season, he was always going to Chelsea. We were all told he was a Chelsea fan as a kid, and for years, all we've ever heard is he's going from West Ham to Chelsea, and that was always the story. And then him and
Mason Mount were going to retire together at Chelsea.
They're best mates, aren't they?
And when did it come that he was no longer, you know, nailed? At some point, he was no longer nailed on for Chelsea. He was no longer a Chelsea fan, and he was suddenly someone who'd been a lifelong Arsenal fan. And that's a weird narrative, because to me, you know, if there was a team that his heart was at and he was really set on and everything else, it was always Chelsea. And then Arsenal have almost rewritten that history that it was always Arsenal, and it's not. But I don't quite understand why Chelsea have never gone for him, because last time they went for a deal like that at West Ham, it was probably the best signing they've ever made in their history in Frank Lampard. But
they went
something
for
happened
Fernandes,
there,
didn't they? So that was he was the man of the moment from the World Cup, and Rice was just forgotten about from Chelsea, and it was previous ownerships as well. I think that's probably another thing that Chelsea fans would probably say as well. So, you know,
West Ham,
just going back onto Martin's kind of thing about these three players that Pep wants. He said, you know, before he went on holiday, he said to all the directors, like, these are my three targets. These are the guys I want. Is that it? Is that all? Are these three players going to be completely it? Do we think? I mean, there's still rumours about Mahrez. You know, there's an offer on the table from one of the.
Do you know what? I think Mahrez is staying, because after Mahrez's tweet to Sam Lee, then it's hard to imagine. You know, gut is that probably 3 or 4 is the way we normally go. I still think we're going to sign and I still think the big shock of the big signing, or the big one, is going to still be a attacking forward. Unless Bernardo stays, I think we'll go and sign a whatever you want to call it, a wide forward, a whatever else, because I think Foden is earmarked for midfield. If Bernardo goes and we effectively lose Palmer, Foden, and Bernardo from our wide players, I think we'll go and sign that attacking player. But I think we must still think there's a 50% chance that Bernardo stays. Whether we like it or not, or whether he likes it or not, you know, I think maybe we think Bernardo stays.
Let's talk about Bernardo. That's the big question now too. Does Gundo leaving increase our chances of Bernardo staying?
In what respects, though, Pat? Because Gundo was on a free. We've known that Silva's wanted to leave for a long, long time. He's been talking about it recently. How do you mean does that give us more of a chance? Because I'm struggling to see why it would give us more of a chance. He's still under contract. That's the only thing that gives us the advantage, Pat, that I see.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this. If Bernardo's heart is set on Portugal and Spain, which it does seem to be, then maybe he won't want to go to Paris. Because the one thing with PSG is that whilst he might like Paris a bit better than Manchester, PSG aren't going to sign him on less than a 4-year contract. So if he does sign for PSG, he's putting off going back to Portugal or Spain at least 4 years, probably. Now, he may decide that if the choice is PSG for 4 years or Manchester for 2, and then going back to Benfica, that he actually chooses that path. So I think, it doesn't seem to me like we are going to see Madrid or Barcelona come in for him, who are the only Spanish clubs, and quite clearly no one in Portugal can afford him. So he's probably sitting there now thinking, I don't.
Saudi are in for him. That is fact.
Yeah, I'm sure Saudi are in for absolutely anyone. I mean, I don't think there'll be a top footballer in Europe apart from maybe Jack Grealish, who they probably wouldn't go for. But apart from Jack Grealish, if any player from a top club, looks likely to leave, Saudi would be in for them. But honestly, I don't know that I could see Bernardo going to Saudi
because
he's too good at this stage. Too much he can still achieve.
Yeah, well, I never know,
because he can get to Saudi in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years even. So,
it depends. If you're being offered stupid amount of money, Rich, money can turn your head. Whether you like that or not.
Yeah,
can. But my thing is, City have offered him a contract. City have offered Bernardo's had a contract on the table for a while, and he's very much reminds me of the Gundogan thing. If you don't sign that contract pretty soon after it's offered, it's not your first choice. There's something holding you off from signing that contract. And the thing with Bernardo is I get what everyone's saying, but like I keep saying this, we're still a business. We're not gonna smack the best part. And by the way, I don't think we're over if we only buy them 3. We're not going to spend the best part of 250, 300 million and not bring money back in the other way.
Yeah.
We can't allow every player out on freebies. We just can't do that. It's a bad business model to allow everyone out for free while we throw 300 million back out the other way. There's got to be some form of money to come back. I know people say we've let Aguero grow. They all did 10 years. Big difference. 10-year span, 7, 8. Bernardo's probably 7 years, but I just don't know where we're at with Bernardo. Bernardo's in a very tricky situation because I agree with Rich. Don't think Spain ever happens. Unless you get a swap deal. I don't think
one club doesn't want him, the other club can't afford him.
Yeah. So maybe PSG is the only option for him then. And if he's that unhappy with Manchester and he's that unhappy with, because like I said, I've always said, I don't think it's Manchester City he's unhappy with. I've never thought it's Manchester City unhappy with him. I think he just isn't keen on Manchester or England, I think it's just one of them players that isn't keen. He wants the sunshine. But I don't know. It's a weird one because City always want to try and respect players' opinions. And they've always had this opinion. I've heard people say, ask him to give us one more year. Because we're not privy to these conversations, City might have already done that game. Last season, we might have gone, give us one more year. We don't know.
Like we kept on saying
because it's
that
3 years down the line. At any point, City might have gone, just give us one more year. We don't know.
I think it's more the fact of that we haven't had because I think City's policy has always been that if a player wants to leave, it's you find the club to come and buy you at the price we value at, and if they meet that valuation, then you go. But no one has met the valuation for Bernardo Silva, and that's why he hasn't gone. It's only now that you're looking at a club like PSG who can afford him that conversation is more likely right now. But his heart was Barcelona. That's where he wanted to go, but they can't afford him. So he's very much a man who's stuck because as much as he may want to leave, he's under contract and no one's coming at the right price.
Do you remember that quote? Was it last summer?
And I don't get him because if I was, he could play for any team in Europe. I don't understand, honestly, why Real Madrid. I mean, maybe Real Madrid because they've got, Bellingham,
Real Madrid have got like 18,000
and Vinicius and everyone else. So maybe I'm saying, but they could do with him. Real Madrid could do with a player.
They've got Bellingham, Tuchemane,
Cruz extended for another year, and Modric is going to.
Yeah, they've got Modric, Camavinga, Tuchemane.
I think Bellingham's the one who can do that kind of. I think that's a very fair point. But imagine PSG with a player like him in the team. Imagine some of those clubs. Bayern could do with him. PSG could do with him.
Well, by the way, we are trying to buy 2 midfielders.
We already, well, if we get Rice, it's 2. I think the big thing is if Bernardo goes, we probably.
To me, I think we've already got the replacement. You won't like this, Kovacic. Kovacic is actually closer to Bernardo Silva's play than he is Gundogan's. Kovacic is that box to box, tenacious ball passing midfielder.
The only reason I think we don't see it is because he doesn't play as much that role at Chelsea, but he plays that more forward role when he plays for Croatia. Yeah,
but
way more direct when he plays for Croatia.
Also, remember what we said about Grealish when he came in? We said he was the Silva replacement. Do you know what I mean? So could he still be that Silva replacement?
Yeah, but we don't know. It's,
we could probably replay this conversation from three. I mean, if we've been going for 3 years, Martin, we'd probably had this. We had this same conversation last summer, and we'd probably had it 2 years before.
We didn't buy midfielders last summer. This is the difference. We're now gone. We're going to start. To me, this is the biggest indication. Because every time we've had the Bernardo conversation, we haven't really been linked with a lot of midfielders. This summer, we seem to be going for midfielders, which tells me from what I understand, PSG have made offers. Maybe City, we don't. This is the problem. We never know what happens. Because like someone said earlier, the City bid's been rejected. No. I was just looking, I was coming back in. No, what Jacob Steinberger said is, if West Ham's evaluation is to be correct, it will be rejected. You've got to be careful on wording. You've got to be careful how you read it and wording. Because aggregators will just stick out a title, bid to be rejected, Jacob Steinberg. And that isn't what's been said. When you read the article, it actually says, if the West Ham valuation of 100 million is to be believed, it will be rejected. But there's a big difference here. If City have gone 80 million quid to West Ham and gone, that's over 2 installments, and the 10 million add-ons is if we win the Premier League, well, that's 45 million quid straight away for West Ham. Whereas Arsenal are going, here's 75 million paid over 6 seasons at 12 million pound a year.
Yeah.
Basically,
and they'll be saying
nothing.
Which is basically worth 45 million. It's basically half what Arsenal want.
So City's is actually by far the better deal because it's more cash up front. They're basically City are giving them more equity. It's like having equity in your house. And you go, it's basically what amortization, when you look at it and you think, you're saying, we're going to give you more equity to your house straight away. We're going to give you 50% equity in your house, and Arsenal are offering what? 12% equity? And West Ham are like, we can't do anything with that because we can't go and get anyone with that then. Because West Ham will have the same problem the other end because they want to go and start bidding. And then, but the trouble is they're a bit lower down the scale. So when they ask, the good thing I like about it is maybe Calvin Phillips does stay because it looks like Calvin Phillips was not involved in the deal. It's a straight cash swap, which tells me then you can't have Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice, Rodri, Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. Someone's going to get very miffed off, and I've missed someone out there as well. And which means someone's going to get miffed, which tells me Bernardo Silva's probably out the door.
It's interesting. I mean, I wonder if there has been a conversation between Pep and Phillips, because the fact that they said that he wasn't even interested in talking to Bayern Munich. Now, I said I didn't think he'd go to West Ham, but if Bayern Munich come in for you and you're not playing, Bayern Munich are one of those top 5 teams in Europe. So if there's any truth in that, I mean, it could be complete rubbish, obviously, but if there's any truth in that, that to me is, pretty hardcore, to not have a conversation with Bayern or Newcastle.
I think
I'm starting to think maybe Bernardo stays and takes a free to Benfica in 2 years.
Who goes then, Rich? Because we ain't going to have 7 midfielders.
Maybe he plays more, on the right.
Then you are going to get the ump.
Mahrez might get the hump. No, he might play more.
What I mean.
On the right.
Someone's going to go out the door for me. Because you can't. No, forget the right. I'm talking centrally, Rich.
Yeah, but I'm saying if Bernardo stays and he plays, and Mahrez, it might be the one who gets the hump.
So then McAtee don't come back.
McAtee will go out. Probably back to Sheffield or Burnley.
Phillips,
he needs a full year.
Think about it. Rice, you have Rodri, Rice, Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden. Who's the other one?
KDB.
And then you got McAtee, Bernardo, Alvarez to get in there as well. It's going to get very congested, and we're right back into the problem of game time. Someone's going to have to go out the door for Rice to come in.
It all depends, Mike, because a couple of those players you talked about are kind of the attacking, wingers that we've got, like the likes of Foden, the likes of Mahrez, McAtee. Coventry's a midfielder.
Get in, mate. I think McAtee will be gone. I think he'll be back on loan again.
Well, I think
it makes sense.
It makes sense, but it depends what happens, I suppose, with people if we don't bring everybody else in, or whether he shows something during the pre-season.
No, but what I'm saying is to bring in Rice and Kovacic, and only Gundogan goes out, you one up from last season. And there wasn't an offering for McAtee last season.
No, but we were saying last season that we felt like we needed another midfielder.
Pep wants small squad, though.
We have got a small squad, though, man. We haven't got the biggest.
But you're making it bigger. This is what you're not. We're adding to the midfield
by one player, Martin. I mean, that
McAtee then too.
Again,
he won't do that. He won't put himself in that situation.
But again, McAtee could be playing out wide.
What to do with Mahrez or Bernardo out wide then?
Well, again, it comes down to, those wide positions. We've still got Foden, who plays predominantly on the left. You've got Mahrez, who predominantly plays on the right.
Alvarez.
Then you've got injuries, as Rich was talking about
No,
earlier.
I know. I get what you're saying with the injuries part, but injuries only last so long.
Yeah, no, but you've also got that natural rotation anyway, Martin, because you've got other cup games as well as the Premier League.
Yeah, and I think there's one.
No, I don't work that way.
I think there's one.
Just for a cup game.
Yeah, I think there's one absolutely massive thing we've seen, and I think City are smart and will be looking at this. But Liverpool overplayed their team 2 seasons ago, and last season their legs had gone. I think there are going to be some players who are going to be a problem next season, because I think particularly that midfield. I'm concerned about. I'm really concerned about De Bruyne as well. De Bruyne to me looked like a player who needs 3-4 months off and a rebuild at the end of the season. I think Rodri, we might well see him having a problem with his legs. Bernardo, if he stayed, I think he's played a hell of a lot of football, and I think we've seen that. I think we really clearly saw it from Liverpool. It took 7-8 months for some of their players to get their legs back, and I'm not sure some of them ever have. I think some of their, particularly at the back, whether it's injury or gone, I think some of their players were not all season the way they were. So I think City watch everything, and I think we probably won't have it as bad as them because we rotated a lot better than them, except in midfield, where I think we had a lot of game time and a lot of legs. I think that's probably one of the reasons why City, and it may be the medical staff more than Pep himself, but I think that was one of the concerns with Gundogan. He's about to turn 33. How are his legs going to be after, the recent seasons?
I mean,
we talked about that, didn't we, Rich?
Yeah,
I was saying we talked about the likes of Gundogan. He only came into form towards the end of last season. He wasn't particularly great in the middle part of the season, and we weren't talking about him staying at that point. We were saying, he's coming to the last end of his contract. Is more likely going to go. So I think you have got to think about these injuries. You've got to think about that rotation. We have got a small squad, and I think you've got to be prepared to have more players in to have that rotation, whether it comes down to injuries, form, or everything else we've talked about.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm just saying, because I've got the squad up here. You look at it. Calvin Phillips' whole job next season is to play more games. That's what he said. Calvin Phillips can only play CDM. That's it. Yeah, but he can't play further up. When I've seen him now, he's not good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. In his younger days, he was an 8. Not Bielsa really brought him back.
I'm just talking for now. Calvin Phillips.
At the moment, he doesn't look like he can play anywhere.
I think Calvin Phillips' form at the start of the season is key to Rodri's legs.
Where's Rice going?
He'll play with Calvin together. They've played.
I'm convinced Rice is moving into number 8. Under Pep, he'll move into number 8.
Where's Kovacic going?
I think Kovacic knew he was going to be someone who's going to come on and off the bench. I think he knows he's not starting.
I think
Kovacic is more utility. Kovacic is more utility because he can play across 8.
This is what I'm saying.
He can play 10.
I do think someone will go out only because
I'll be surprised.
You still got Alvarez. Alvarez is not going to sit back on the bench again.
Yeah, but Alvarez is a striker, Martin.
People say he can play right or left, Ozza.
I agree, he can. But what I'm saying is, he's a forward player.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about we're talking about a midfield right now. We're not talking about the forward line.
But he's still right. Okay, and so let's not include Foden in the. This is what I mean. Depends what we're talking here about this forward line.
Well, again, Martin, we think Foden's going to go into midfield, but we can't guarantee it right now, can we? None of us know that.
No, I know. This is what I'm saying. To buy Rice, it must mean, for me, Rice and Kovacic, adding it into that midfield to me, must signal somebody's going out the door, as well as Gundogan. Or you're going to be end up with a very... Because my initial thought was Phillips. I thought Phillips would be the one gone. It doesn't seem that way now. So fine, Phillips stays, fights for his place. Phillips has already spent one season sat on the bench. Alvarez has already spent... No, let me finish. Alvarez has already spent one season sat on the bench. They ain't going to go for two. But you will end up with World War V.
I think one other thing we're going to see...
The thing with Phillips, though, is that he spent pretty much the entire season on the bench. And if Pep thinks, sorry, you're not good enough, he may have been offered other clubs to go to, but he's under contract. And if he doesn't want to go, it's a bit like Bernardo Silva in the opposite direction. That if he wants to stay,
I think
it could just be one of those players that refuses to leave, and you're stuck with him. And
I think he'll think last season I wasn't fit and all that. I want to give it a go. I do think that if he doesn't make it by
such a poor
January, I think I think that I'm talking about what he thinks.
He was fit from January. Becoming an excuse that he's not fit.
Martin, this is what he thinks. That is what this. If this is what he thinks, I want to give it a go. I want to make it at City. He might decide in January it doesn't work. But the big thing is, I don't think we're going to see De Bruyne till October. I don't think we're going to see De Bruyne.
According to reports, he's back for the thing. He's back for the
Super. But I think De Bruyne needs to be rebuilt. He was damaged at the end of last season. He's been overplayed for 5 years. He is the one player at City
needs to be protected.
Who I think, like Ferran Torres or Robbie Fowler or Michael Owen were by Liverpool, has been played particularly by Belgium. He's played too much football, particularly when he's carrying injury. And if we want to get another few years out of De Bruyne, we are going to really, really need to look after him. And, we are going to have to be more selective about the games he plays, because if we want him fit for all the big games, I think he's going to be starting fewer than 40 games to get him really playing. So, and I think he's going to need a proper 6-week summer holiday or something to look after him. So I hope we're doing that. And I think that will give, I wouldn't be surprised if we start the season with, if Rice signs, Rodri, Rice and Kovacic, or Rodri, Rice and Foden, or something else. I think we may see a little, definitely until February, March, De Bruyne getting really looked after.
Everyone in the chat's going into this rotation, rest players. That's fine. That isn't reality to players.
It is under a Pep and City system, Martin.
Every single...
No time of speaking.
Martin, no one at City started more than 28 Premier League games apart from 3 players.
It's a fact. Don't ever mention Grumpy 5 ever against me ever again.
I don't talk about Grumpy 5.
Was it a fact though, Rich?
I don't know. I wasn't there, but it seems to be from what the press has said. It's quite clear. Cancelo. For me, it's quite clear Cancelo was a problem. It's quite clear Laporte had a problem, and I'm sure Walker did. Why? Probably. I don't know why Cancelo.
Go on. Just prove me all point. Go on.
Laporte.
Why?
I suspect Laporte had a problem because he won us the league, and he didn't understand why he didn't get his place back. Cancelo, who knows? Because
you've got more excuses.
Cancelo had played more minutes than any player for us apart from Rodri and Ederson when he threw his drop. So that can't be about playing, because he was only dropped for about a game.
So is Spencer Pryor telling lies?
No, players want to play. No one's denying that. But
right. So this is what I'm like. Right. No, instead of everyone just over shouting, let me speak.
Yeah,
we have a real problem on this channel. We're not letting Martin speak for some weird reason. I don't know why. We don't seem to like to do it. No. The simple fact is, people, I agree. If we were all going rest, rotation, not a problem. But for 2 straight seasons, we've had issues with resting or rotating players. We had it last season, was the reason Sterling left, Was the reason Jesus left? Was the reason Zinchenko left? We've then got it this season. The reason Laporte's probably going to go. The reason why Mahrez wasn't overly keen. The reason why Cancelo wasn't happy. So it's okay saying rest and relaxation. Not every player likes that, though.
Yeah, but you're implying that that's a problem. Those 3 players
it
left.
Can be can be a problem.
Those 3 players left, and we won the treble. Therefore, it is not a problem.
But Martin,
those 3 players left, and we won the treble. And if 3 players leave this summer and we win the treble next year, it's not a problem. And that is the truth. We are always going to have players who want to go, and we should do.
I'm getting better.
Because if you don't, it's a waste.
Rich, you finished?
Yeah.
So I was going to say the other point as well, Martin, is that look at every other team. Though we say we've got the smallest squad, what about every other team in the Premier League or in Europe, who have got bigger squads? Why are they not having the same issue?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I don't know.
Because they're not. Their players aren't as good.
He asked me a question. Bitch jumps in. Yeah. I'll just shut up in future.
So I mean that's the point. That for me, it's you have to have at least a squad that you can rotate for all the reasons we've discussed. Okay, you are going to get some players. We know every player wants to play. We've seen what Kevin De Bruyne is like when he gets subbed off, when he even when he's got injury, he still wants to play. That's what makes a great player. But at the end of the day, you've still got to have enough players to rest, rotate when it comes to injuries, when it comes to form and everything else. That's just how football works. And that works for every other team in Europe, probably the world, but especially in Europe, because you have to have at least a big enough squad to do those things. It's regardless of whether players are going to throw their toys out the pram. That's just how football works. It's the nature of football, and especially with the amount of games these players play. Because we are in every competition, we say this every year, we play in every competition and we go pretty much all the way. And that's exactly how last season went, because we won the treble. Pat, you've been extremely quiet.
Anyway, I have to go, so I'll hand Martin my speaking slot, and I will.
See you later, Rich.
Yeah.
See ya.
Go on, Pat. I think it's time for you to speak.
Another hit and run. Look,
yeah, things are going to be changing. Not you.
Okay. Look, I think at the end of the day, there is the talk of obviously the squad rotation. We do have a small squad, but also too, I think that also comes down. We've got to give Pep his credit in the fact that the reason we have such a small squad, but we're able to make it play like as if we have 2 players for every position, is because of basically the utilization of players into different positions. Midfielders that probably came to the club at one specific position now being able to play at 2 or 3. Right backs being turned into left backs or just full backs in general. So I think, look, it's tough for me because I'm on the fence with this whole, rotation, and there's certain players that I do feel need to be rested or just be just taken a little bit more care of. Look at Rodri, for example. What's happened? What's happened with midfielders at Liverpool terrifies me that it's going to happen here as well. And I think, and I look at Rodri as an example, and it's like, God, I want nothing more than Calvin Phillips to succeed and be a good player at City under Pep, for the simple reason that I want Rodri to I don't want Rodri to fall down that trap of being burned out. It terrifies me. It really, really does. And Kevin De Bruyne falls into that category as well too, because of his age. So for me, it's tough for me to put my finger on exactly where I see players being played and things like that. But at the same time too, I just don't want history repeating itself and us falling into that trap of why other teams haven't been able to succeed while we've still been able to it's tricky for me, because it's like I want to play players at this certain time, but at the same time I just don't I just don't want to get too far ahead of myself and certainly fall down the sentimentality wormhole. And it's a can of worms for me, to be honest.
And Pardo said if I had my way. No, I've never said 14-15. People aren't listening to what I'm saying. Is said without someone leaving, you're making your squad bigger for an extra 3 games. That's the Super Cup's 1 game. That's it. It looks bigger when you go, we're adding extra competition. Oh, it's 1 extra game. The Club World Cup's 2 or 3 games.
2 games.
2 games.
Yeah. Euro
But
teams going to effectively a semi-final.
7 competitions. But like we're in 7 huge, massive. You know what? This is the problem. We go down the road and we start changing narratives to what facts are actually happening. It's 3 extra games. And when we look on last season, and it was said in Caldoon's interview only 2 weeks ago, Pep likes a small squad. He's notorious for it. All I'm saying is to make it bigger. You look at the players who are actually wanting out, the ones who played the least amount of minutes. That's not coincidence. And that's the problem you've got. I just said my idea of Rice coming in was, for example, Phillips to go out the door. Now if Phillips is going to stay, fine. Glad he wants to fight for his place. But you can't go with Rodri, Rice, and Phillips. They're not going to spend 100 million to sit on the bench. Same with Gamardio. They're not going to drop 100 million to sit on the bench. So this is the problem. We say rotation, there are certain players who don't get rotated a lot. They just don't. Haaland, we all said would hardly play last season. He played the 2nd to the 3rd most minutes out of everyone.
It's hard to bench him.
Which puts question, which because he'll do that again this season. That puts
Alvarez
I see what Martin's saying, because it puts more question marks on Alvarez.
Exactly.
The thing is,
and you can't, and then I said to utilize the utilitarianism of obviously putting him on the left or the right. That also helps too. But then Grealish plays more minutes than anybody. Grealish plays more minutes than anybody else.
The problem is
Mahrez plays more minutes than Alvarez. It's such a fine line. It's a tightrope of a discussion, because you talk about more minutes for him, but then what about them and them? Yeah, but then that's what I was coming back. Yeah, that's what I was coming back to about the utilitarianism of the players, because they can work in so many different positions.
And the trouble is, he's a World Cup winner. He's gonna want to play games.
No, he's completed football, mate. He's fine.
So he's leaving then, yeah?
No, I never said he's leaving. No, I never said he's leaving.
Well, it sounds like it might. I mean, yeah.
No, Ozzy, you've got 2 of these. What I'm saying is for me, the idea was Alvarez to go out maybe on the right. I genuinely I do think Bernardo will go. Because I think it's easier for all sides. Mahrez, you can probably go, do you know what? Don't play as much. And if he moans, he moans. There's probably certain players Pep doesn't mind having a moan at. Like Pep says, I don't play Mahrez, and Mahrez walks past me and won't speak to me for a week. He scores a hat-trick against Sheffield United in the FA Cup. Next game, bench.
Apart from last season, did we get a prediction right for the teams that started?
Has anybody ever got a prediction right? Has anybody ever got a prediction right since 2016 when Pep came in? I don't know.
I came on bragging.
Yeah, he did.
Did you get the Madrid? Was it one of the Madrid games?
I got the Madrid one right. I got the Bayern one right, and I got the Arsenal one right. That's why I was smiling.
But also in mind, as you said though, last season we pretty much had, there was not as much rotation. as there has been in the last,
I would say,
6 seasons under Pep, kind of thing.
Not as much rotation in the big games. He seemed to have a big 11.
But that's what I'm saying. So if we know, I think if we all said who's a starting game for the next big game we've got, would we all say the same team? Would it be the exact 11? Would we all say he starts, and we all get exactly the same names right? Would we all do that? Because I've seen we wouldn't, even with the squad we've got right now. Because your turn around and say, let's get, if we got all our players that were Guardiola, Kovacic.
Last season, there were a few lineups where, say, Martin or yourself would say something, and I'd say, I agree with that. And then the only tweak might be Ake over Akanji or Stones over Walker or something like that. It was always, but then again, I think the reason Martin.
Pat, you turn around and say you're dropping Akanji now when he was our player of the season last season. For who? Guardiola, who's just come in.
Someone's going to get dropped.
Well, exactly, and that's my point. People are going to get dropped because at the end of the day, we've got to have that rotation because of the amount of games we play. There's always going to be a player who is unhappy because they're not playing in a big game or a game they feel they should be playing in. But that's what comes with playing.
But they eventually leave.
Name them, Martin. Apart from
Jesus and Chanko,
apart from those players last season, name them.
You will think he'll leave this season?
No. Over the last few seasons, before last season, name those players.
Because we had a bigger it's only been the last 2 years we've gone to a smaller squad. We had a bigger squad. If you remember, Pep did an interview in Spain.
But that's my point, Martin. When were those players? Who were the players that left when we had a bigger squad? And who were they? I can think of one.
When we had a bigger squad?
Yeah. Because there were so many players that were unhappy and they weren't getting their game time.
Danilo went out because of that reason. Because he wanted to play.
All right, that's one. Name all the rest.
Well, hang on, I'll get them up for you then. Jesus Christ, Ozzy. See, Ozzy wants to prove his point that little much.
No.
We've got to go this much.
No. I'm just asking the questions, Martin, because for me, there was Leroy Sané, who was the big one.
Yeah, Leroy Sané.
Yeah. But apart from that, we've always said we rarely lose players that we want to keep.
Ferran Torres was one. It depends what you want to say as keep. What do you mean? Because this is what I'm saying. Are you talking first team footballers or squad players?
I'm talking first team footballers right now.
Would you class Kyle Walker as a first team footballer?
He hasn't left, Martin. So I'm keeping to players that have left.
Who've left is in first teamers. Sané, Ferran Torres.
Was Ferran Torres already a first team player?
He was playing a lot at the start of the season. Yeah, he was scoring goals for fun.
That was at the beginning. I'm talking about, was he a regular first team player, like the likes of Kevin De Bruyne?
Well, bloody hell.
But this is what I'm saying. You have to have.
You're being pedantic now.
No, but my point
was Gabriel Jesus a first teamer, Ozzy?
I didn't. You broke up there, mate.
Was Gabriel Jesus first teamer?
No.
Right, but this is what I'm. See, you're not getting my point. When I never said first teamers, I said squads. We're talking squads here.
Yeah. And that's
been
the squad players that couldn't break into first team.
So this is my point: is that you've got not only got that 11, but you've got to have the squad that goes around it. Okay, and this is what I mean. You have to have players like Jesus, like Zinchenko, to come in and cover those positions when the first teamers aren't there. And that is
we tried to do the two in each position. If you remember, we tried to do the top world class in each. Two in each position. Pep came out.
Would you argue
Centurions and formidable season was when you had like the double lineups? Yeah,
he did a Spanish interview, and he said this season it was either not last season, the season before. Sounds weird saying that. He said, "I have had the worst time this season." I have had to hurt so many players. I will never do that again. And he changed everything to small squad. I go with small squad. I can't remember who he did the interview with, whether it was Chuma Chalila TV or whatever they were called. He did some interview in Spanish and he said, I've had an awful time. I've had to hurt so many players that I didn't want to do.
That's what comes to
Do you
being
remember
a manager.
And the problem is, and then from that on, he went small squad.
Martin Ozzy, I'll use an example here. Guys, do you remember? You remember maybe like Centurions or Formidable season? How often you would see like on social media and just general chit chat and things like that, where people would say like they put like the squad and then they put like the 2 players for each position, or they do like a one city combined 11 against another city combined 11, where it was a combination of one half of squad players against one. So both teams were consisted of half of like first choice players and then a part squad players, and then the other side of the squad would be inverted as well too. You never really saw that after sort of like the COVID seasons, because we had such that squad depth that we were able to put 2 in every position. You just don't see it now, because again, it comes down to that. It's basically, if you're going to do something like that now, then you're going to have 2 players on either sides, because they do utilize, because a lot of his players now are utilized in multiple positions.
Yeah, Pat, you're completely right. So what I'm saying to you, though, is that have we still got those players that can rotate into those positions if we need them?
I don't know. I'm only talking midfield.
Yeah.
My only point was the midfield, because I think we're going to end up with 7 midfielders and it's going to cause a problem. That's why I think someone will go. I just took the easy option of Calvin Phillips might have been part of the West Ham deal. This is the problem. They're not going to spend 100 million on Declan Rice good as to bench him.
Yeah, you feel like someone has to drop.
No, but he's going to come in. And the only thing I honestly thought it'd be Calvin.
I think we all thought it was Calvin mine.
Obviously, and that's why I think if he's not Calvin, great, let him fight. I think he's going to have a problem, but let him fight. So it must be Bernardo Silva then.
Yeah, but even if it's not, and if Bernardo Silva says, I still think...
Good luck to Pep. Because I don't want to be in that bloody dressing room next year when he's dealing with that.
No, but I think it's more likely that because Calvin Phillips barely did anything last season and he's got to prove himself if he wants to stay, then it's off his own back, really. I think if the club have turned around and Pep have turned around and said to him, listen, it hasn't worked out for you here. There are other clubs that you could go into that, that have offered you, more game time. There's the option there, and he's gone, no, actually, I'm staying because I want to fight for my position. And it's on him. And if he stays on the bench for the next season because he just isn't putting in the effort or he's just not good enough, then that's down to him.
Is it not good with some players who are getting paid a lot of money that they want to move on to fight somewhere else? Because they could quite easily do a bow guard and sit on the bench.
I think when it comes to the likes of Phillips, he's that player at the moment.
Is that not is it not a credit to him that they want to go off and not waste our money?
I suppose so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put a spin in it that might be a little bit more positive. I honestly think part of it is we're scared of change.
I think everybody's scared of change, yeah.
I think everybody's
scared of change. We just, yeah. I just don't think we just don't want to fall in the trap of what other teams have done, and burn out players and that sort of thing, and overspending on players that don't do well, and
Kurt, welcome, mate.
Do you know what? At the end of the day, I think we'll sort the problem out. We're going to get Guardiola in. He's going to play at the back with Ruben Diaz. So that means that we can just play every game as a 2-7-1 formation. There you go. Every midfielder gets to play.
Well,
we're going to have 9 defenders.
So I said he just wants a squad of midfielders,
Well,
maybe that's 11 midfielders.
Maybe that's what he's trying to do. Maybe we're trying to get a squad of midfielders. And maybe we're trying to do half midfielders, half defenders, and Haaland.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, like I say, I do. The Alvarez is still a worry for me. I am concerned on Alvarez. I don't know where. I think he'll probably last till Christmas before his agent. It's not always the player. Sometimes it's the agent. The agent will go, listen, I can get you playing at another club here. You shouldn't be sat on the bench. And it's up to them now.
But I think
he's going to be 23 next year. He isn't going to want to sit on the bench again.
But I think the thing is, but the thing is that's something like Spurs have had the problem with is when you have got a striker that is pretty much the best in the world at the
Why
moment.
they've never bought one, never bought another backup or anything.
That's been Spurs' problem though, is they've not been able to find a backup to Harry Kane, and then that's why they've never been able to rotate him properly. And I think you're always going to have someone. It was the same with Jesus and Aguero.
Carry on talking.
You had the same thing with Aguero and Jesus, didn't you, Pat? Where those two were vying for it. And at the end of the day, once Pep had said to Aguero, you need to kick up your game and to be the player I want, and he did. So that's when Jesus was just the second fiddle.
And let's be honest too. Pep actually said had there not been for certain injuries to certain players, and I don't want to mention his name, French left back, came from Monaco. Had he been fit and healthy during those first couple of seasons, and that we would have seen. He said he would have had Aguero and Jesus playing as a front two, because it would have allowed more expansion for the midfield to play because you would have had Mendy on that constant overlap. So. So circumstance dictates circumstances can dictate sort of like the future of what a player does or how far they go at a certain club. And I think, Jesus is an example of that where, had that certain, player been fit, we would have seen a lot more game time with Jesus, and who knows how that would have determined or dictated how long he would have stayed at the club.
Yeah. Right. And I think that goes for most of the players that have left from us, whether that's Sterling, whether that's Sane, those type of players, if they've still been here, Pep would still be playing a different system than the one he's currently doing. Yep. He adapts, and that's what it comes down to, is adapting for every situation.
Yeah.
Right, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's go.
Because people need to do it. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm only going to draw the people that are currently in here right now. We've tried this 3 times. It don't work. And
next time, if it doesn't work, I'm claiming it. That's the end of it. So just let you know now. Sorry, Pat, but I'm the cheaper postage than you are. So, and Rich isn't here. So,
yeah. Remember, I can fly over and collect it for peanuts, mate. So,
I'm done.
Don't start arguing.
You'll still be waiting for your bloody train. You'll still be waiting for the train to come pick you up with a bloody strike.
All right with arguing. Just make sure you don't bloody well. It'd be nice if you let me speak now and again, and don't ask me a question and someone else jumps in and asks the question.
Sorry, Martin. I thought you were still busy trying to do whatever you were doing. And that's why I thought me and Pat would have a bit of a banter.
Hang on.
No, don't matter. No,
I'm the quietest one here. I'm the only one that's been allowed to stay in the library, for God's sake.
Right. I'm going to do the draw. That's good luck to everyone.
Here we
drum roll, please.
No, but balls to the drum roll. We're going.
You can
tell them at a point where, yeah.
So again, as I said, wait, it's anybody in the chat, isn't it? So okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if it's not in the chat, I'll carry on.
But it can't be what? It can't be 25, 23, and 38.
Yeah, I've already took them out, mate. They're already out. They're out. Right, let's go.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, good luck.
Oh, good. Okay. Here we go.
It's taking a while, Martin.
59. 59.
Martin's age. After tonight's stream.
Who's Scott Carson the GOAT?
It's not one of Richard's.
Well, he doesn't need it. He can just call up his teammate and get one made for him.
Whoever Scott Carson is the GOAT has won it at the time.
Congrats.
We'll give him 30 seconds to comment. Charlie says they haven't been in the chat, so
I'm looking at something because I've got a feeling I think I know who they are.
They need a comment. They need a comment.
They need to comment.
Yeah, they need a comment. Otherwise,
I think we give it a few seconds. And if you haven't commented, Scott Carlson, you're out because we can't keep this going. It's got to be someone who's live in the chat right now.
Yeah. Was FIFA Ethan's name Scott Carson the GOAT at any point when he applied for membership? Yeah, because it has. Yeah, because a lot of these a lot of these names were done when it was updated. At
That's
the time
what
of membership.
I'm checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ethan.
Hey,
on properly thing. Right, yeah, FIFA. Ethan. Yours.
Well done, mate.
So it is FIFA, Ethan.
It was FIFA. That's what I was checking.
Yeah.
It was FIFA's second account because he got gifted one of them, which does prove we were giving them to the gifted people as well. So, yep. Ethan, congratulations, mate. Yep. You win the KDB Sand shirt.
Yep.
I don't actually have to post it to Ethan. I can actually take it to him because that's going to save me a load. Adet, your Bernardo one is coming out to you as well.
Ethan, you could trade that one in for a Carson and Peroni side photo, so it's all good.
So, Ethan, well done, mate. You have won the KDB one. Now, like you said, we've decided if you want to, it looks like at the moment, a lot of you want to keep the memberships going. We've currently got 65 members. None of you have cancelled. That's what we were looking at. Who cancelled, who didn't. Stephen is a mod, but he still put his money in. Listen, I did it live on camera, mate, and you could see I did it live on camera. I didn't just pick things out, and I can show you on here.
And to be fair, we've done this a few times now, so
It's actually, because I can tell you, Andrew W was 52. Colonel Ward was 53. Colin Pollock was 54. Julia McKeever was 55. Condinio Abdal was 56. Charlie 57. Pardo Oaks 58. And Scott Carson, the GOAT, was 59. And Stilkson was 60.
Yeah, as Julie just said, he deserves it. So he does.
I don't know how to cancel.
We've had 4 bites of the cherry, mate. We have to get it going somehow.
You go into your Google account and you go into your memberships and it's there. If you want to cancel, we understand. If you don't, it will all go back into the channel. I've now done my donation to Alzheimer's Research UK. So it's all done. It starts, the competition's closed. We'll change it now to membership channel member. I will, for the new season, we'll change the stickers and the images to, we might do that. That might be an idea, For your 99p membership, once a month, you tell us what emojis you want on. That's probably the best way of doing it, So you get something for your 99p, as well as contribution to your channel. We'll switch the emojis around every month.
Yep.
As long as we can get them. And no rude ones.
Costa Coffee Cup, Starbucks.
No, can't get them.
Oh, yeah. Advertising, yeah. Still working on that, by the way.
Scott Carson emoji. I can't get that. That's not on YouTube, mate. Right, anyway, that's the end of it. What a night. We were coming on to talk about Josko Gavadio. And we've ended up trying to buy Declan Rice in the middle of the stream.
So it happens when you look at breaking news.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You know what I mean? I've just realised we're also live on the 9320 podcast. Hi! Because I've just realised we can now literally link to each other and we don't even have to give passwords. Because Say like if Pat wanted to now, the YouTube and stream we have currently, this Pat can link us directly to his Facebook, Sydney Blues, if you want to, and we're live on his Facebook. Well, whoever we invite as a guest can link to their channels now for free of charge. The only problem is we can't time them out. That may have to be looked into.
On that sad note.
Anyway, thank you all for joining us. Please smash that like button. We are back Thursday with our Thursday night chat. If anything breaks, and again, not David Ornstein says we're going to a meeting for 3 hours tomorrow. No. Like breaks. Like tonight, we've made the bid. Then we'll come live.
If Kovacic gets announced, will you just do a short about it, or?
Yeah. I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I've already told you, he's wearing the number 8 shirt. That's already done, dusted. That's done. What we're going to do is as well, I'm going to get bloody hands up and cue cards for everyone to speak. That'd be bloody easier.
Good luck with that.
Ozzy, you have the floor. The floor is yours.
I've been at work.
On that note.
By the way, hello to our friends who are watching us. Hi, you little stalkers. How you doing? Go back and enjoy yourselves. They know who they are. How's that? Smile. They're watching. People are like, who's he on about? Yes, before we go, cheers, thank you all. No, you're welcome. Ethan, you message me anyway, mate. Message me and I'll come and drop that KDB off for you. Please, sir, can I speak? That's what we'll all be saying to Rich. Yeah, thank you all. Please smash that like button. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. And we'll see you all on Thursday night, 9:30. Take care, all. Congratulations, FIFA. City are going to boil a load of it. And we'll come on and have another argument about who's leaving and who's not going to leave. Can we just get back to football? It was a lot easier. Please. Hate transfers when they get like this. Bye, all.
Hello.
Yeah.